Chapter 15. Come on! Brent tapped his heel in feigned agitation. It was Thursday evening, and he had to get to Houston tonight to make his meeting in the morning. But he wasn't in a hurry for that reason. "It would help if you told me where we were going," Sam hollered from her closet. I would dress differently for Marnie's than Ernesto's."
"If I told you that, it wouldn't be a surprise."
Brent looked down at his watch. If they didn't hurry, they might miss his surprise, and then his agitation would be real.
"Just pick something nice. You look beautiful in anything."
Sam emerged from the closet wearing a simple black dress, which she tugged and pulled on, revealing her uncomfortableness. Brent let out a low whistle.
"Wow, you look amazing."
Pink flooded Sam's cheeks. "I feel overdressed."
"It's only because you're used to greasy coveralls and jeans."
Brent laughed, taking her hand and pulling her close.
"You look great."
He placed a quick kiss on her lips before pulling her toward the front door. "Wait!" She placed a splayed hand on his chest. "I need my truck keys." He shook his head and smiled down at her.
"No keys tonight. You're not driving."
You don't have a car, remember? You totaled it right after I fixed it. Not cool, by the way." She swatted his arm playfully.
"Well, I had to find some reason to see you again," Brent returned.
"Ha ha." Sam's smile turned serious. "Never do that again, though."
"I promise. Now come on."
Brent opened the front door and enjoyed the gasp that escaped from Sam's lips as she spied the stretch limo he had ordered. "We're taking a limo into Soda Spurs?" she asked. "Don't you think that's a little showy?"
Brent chuckled. "We're not eating in Soda Spurs, Sam."
He waited while she locked the front door and then took her hand again as he helped her down the stairs. Sam shook her head, but she smiled as he opened the limo door and helped her inside. "I have to ask, aren't you supposed to be heading back to Houston tonight?" Brent climbed in beside her and closed the door.
"Don't worry, there's plenty of time after dinner."
He pursed his lips together to keep from smiling and giving away his secret. "Can I ask you something else?" When he nodded, she continued. "Julia mentioned your family wouldn't have come to the hospital. Can I ask what happened between you?"
Brent sighed. "We were always wealthy, but my father believed in a strong work ethic. When I told him I wanted to be a writer, he wasn't pleased. He wanted me to work on Wall Street or something a little more stable. So I moved to Los Angeles, and that was the last we spoke."
"I'm so sorry, Brent." Sam laid a hand on his arm and stared at him with glistening eyes.
"Thank you, but tonight isn't about sadness. Tonight is about new beginnings."
He wrapped his arm around Sam and pulled her closer, enjoying the sweet smell of her shampoo. Half an hour later, the limo stopped and the driver opened the door. Brent climbed out first and held his hand out to Sam. Her eyes widened as she took in the surroundings. "I don't understand. I thought we were having dinner."
"Oh, we're going to have dinner."
Brent bit the inside of his lip to keep his smile from stretching across his face.
"But not here."
He took her hand and led her up the red carpet.
"I need to get a new car. I thought we'd eat on the plane on the way to Houston, and then you could help me pick out my next car. I know a car isn't a necessity in Soda Spurs, but I don't like being without one, and I really miss driving."
"Won't they be closed by the time we get there?" Sam asked, glancing at her watch.
"Maybe for the general public."
"But you're not the general public," Sam said slowly.
"No, I am not. Now come on. Your dinner awaits, m'lady."
Sam laughed as he led her up the steps of the airplane. "Will we be returning tonight?" Brent shook his head.
No, since I have my meeting in Houston tomorrow, I thought this would be a perfect time to show you around. I'll take you to your hotel after the dealership.
But I didn't pack anything, Sam protested.
Already been taken care of.
But the shop, Sam continued.
Also taken care of. Don't worry, Sam. I have this all covered. Now come on, I'm starving.
Good evening, sir, mademoiselle. The words were uttered by a woman in a pressed black skirt and white shirt who stood just inside the plane. Her blonde hair was curled into a knot at the nape of her neck. Brent issued a thank you as they passed her. Sam nodded a hello at the woman, but her eyes were taking in the insides of the Lear jet. She had never been on a private plane before. Instead of the several tight rows of seats, there were only 8 spacious seats. 4 seats had their backs to Sam and 4 faced her. A large empty space existed in between the 2 front rows, but a table draped in a white tablecloth and sporting china and a vase of roses filled the space. "Do you always travel like this?" Sam asked Brent. Awe was the only emotion she could feel, and it overwhelmed her. Brent chuckled a deep, resonating sound. Of course. What's the point of having money if you don't use it? Sometimes I drive, though, but that's on hold until I get a new car. He led her to the table and helped her into one of the seats before sitting across from her. "My name is Monica, and I'll be your waitress and stewardess today. Our flight will be a short flight, but plenty of time for you to enjoy our petite sirloin and fingerling potatoes."
Monica turned and disappeared down the aisle, and Sam smiled at Brent.
"This is more than you needed to do to impress me."
"Maybe, but you deserve it."
Sam glanced out the window as the plane began to move. She hadn't flown often, but enough to remember the funny sensation that erupted in her stomach when the plane began gathering speed. Sam felt no such sensation this time. The takeoff was so smooth she wouldn't have even known they had lifted off if she hadn't been watching out of the window. Monica reappeared a moment later, carrying a tray that held a breadbasket, 2 plates of food, and 2 wine glasses with a sparkling red liquid that sloshed gently against the sides of the glasses as she adjusted the tray. She placed a glass in front of each of them, followed by the plate of food, and finally the basket of bread in the middle. The sweet smell of the meat glided up to Sam's nose and set her mouth watering. "Let me know if you need anything else," Monica said before disappearing again.
"Shall we pray?"
Brent asked. Sam could only nod. She was still amazed by the situation. Was this what dating Brent would be like? She closed her eyes and listened to his melodic voice as he thanked God for the food and the many blessings he had been given. Sam felt blessed as well. She might not have Brent's money, but it appeared she had a Christian man who was willing to focus on God with her. What more could she ask for? After Brent finished with an amen, Sam dug into the food. There was a ravenous hole in her stomach yearning to be fed. She didn't usually skip meals, but she had been so focused on work and trying to earn enough to keep the shop open that she hadn't even thought to eat until just before Brent showed up for their date. Sam wasn't sure whether it was the food or the hunger burning inside her, but as she chewed the first bite of steak, she decided she had never had a finer one. The meat was crispy on the outside and coated with some smoky glaze, and the inside was soft and flavorful. "This is amazing," she uttered between bites.
"Well, I couldn't very well take you on a plane and serve subpar food, could I?" he asked with a smile. "I'm glad you like it, though. You deserve the royal treatment, Sam."
As the heat crawled up her neck, Sam wondered if she could live like this. She had grown up in a simple home. Plenty of food on the table and a roof over their heads, but she had never been able to take dance or gymnastics growing up due to the lack of money. Sam had never felt like anything was lacking, though, as her parents had filled the gaps with love. But now she wondered if life would ever be the same. Could you live with money like this and then go back to none? Would Brent ever be truly happy in Soda Spurs? Sam kept the questions to herself, not wanting to ruin the night. There would be plenty of time to ask them later. Brent felt like a kid at Christmas as the limo pulled up to the North Houston Porsche dealership. He couldn't wait to have Sam help him pick out a new car. Truth was, he could have just ordered the car he wanted. Pierre, the owner, would know what he liked. But Sam was a mechanic, and even though she didn't often work on Porsches, he thought she might enjoy seeing them, hearing them, maybe even test driving one. He held the limo door open for her and smiled when her eyes grew round as she climbed out of the limo. Is this a dealership or a whole city? Brent chuckled. The building was huge, 2 stories with a showroom that typically displayed 24 cars. Yellows and reds from the setting sun glistened off the white building. Come on. The dealership was officially closed for the evening, but as promised, Pierre had the side door unlocked. We're sneaking in? Sam asked. We're getting special treatment, Brent replied as he opened the door. The room opened into a large showroom. An expansive white desk stretched across the room, and the white marble floor glistened as if it had just been cleaned. Ah, you made it. Good to see you, my friend. Pierre stood from behind the desk. He walked over to greet them, his Italian loafers clicking on the marble flooring. His short black hair perfectly matched the color of his expensive suit. Thanks for staying open, Pierre. Brent shook the man's outstretched hand. This is my girlfriend, Sam. Pierre's eyes flicked to Sam, and he brought her hand to his lips, laying a soft kiss on the back. She is too pretty for you. Brent chuckled and gazed at Sam. Don't I know it? But don't let her good looks fool you. Sam here is an amazing mechanic, and will probably spend more time looking under the hood than admiring the exterior of the cars. Pierre's eyes widened. Beautiful and smart. Now I know she's too good for you. Why don't you drop this fool and come work for me? A soft blush spread across Sam's cheeks. While that is a very tempting offer, I'm kind of fond of Brent here. Ah, well, I can't blame you there. Brent is a good man. Now, what would you like to see first? Pierre asked. Brent turned to Sam. Though he was the one shopping, he wanted her to be able to see a car she wanted. Can I see a Carrera? She asked. I've always loved the look of them. She has good taste, too. Pierre flashed Brent a smile as he led them over to the cars. At least a dozen filled the room, ranging in colors and designs. Here it is, the brand new Carrera. Sam's eyes shone as she ran her hand over the smooth red paint. Wow, I never thought I'd see one this close. Why don't you get inside? Brent asked. See how it feels. She turned wide eyes to Pierre, as if asking for permission. Yes, please. Pierre waved his hand at her to indicate it was fine. Brent noticed Sam's hand was shaking just slightly as she opened the door and slid into the driver's seat. Her hands glided over the steering wheel with a soft touch, and her mouth parted. Though he figured she wouldn't allow him to right now, Brent promised that one day he would purchase a Carrera for her.